Hey guys, in today's video we're working on a 2001 to 2005 Honda Civic. I will show you how to remove the motor in this video. This is going to be a 3-part series. Video 1 is going to be step by step on how to remove this motor without using a hoist. All you're going to need is one of these guys here. You can easily rent one for 60 bucks or something. Here's the motor that's going in. We already got it out. And then episode 2 will be on how to separate it from the tranny, things like that once you got it out of the car. And episode 3 will be all about installing the motor, putting it back in. This is going to be very thorough, step by step, torque specs, all of that, guys. Let's get started right away, guys. And this is one of the easiest motors I've ever pulled in my life. It's super easy. There's really not much to it. Okay, let's get started. And in the description, guys, there will be links to all 3 episodes on how to do this. Okay, let's get started right away. The absolute first thing we got to do is relieve the pressure from the fuel lines. So inside the car, you open this up like this. See right here, you got these little tag things. Okay, once you got them both out, this just opens up. And right here, you have 3 relays. So this middle relay needs to come out. So you just pull that out. Okay, step number 1 done. So now you would start the engine, let it run until it dies. In our case, our engine is fried because the timing belt broke on it. That's actually why we're changing the engine. So in our case, we're just gonna have to have a hose or fire extinguisher ready when we disconnect the lines, just in case. Step number 2, you're gonna disconnect the battery. Take this screw out or nut, and pull the battery completely out. Okay, just like that, the battery is out. Next, we're gonna remove this whole air intake contraption and the one in the back. And another thing is when you're taking this stuff off, you find yourself a good place that represents like your motor area, and we're gonna put everything here the same way. Like we'll put the air thing there, and then we'll put the bolts in just right. See, we got the battery set up just the way it was. So that way you don't end up forgetting, guys, where goes what. Otherwise, if you're not gonna do that, you gotta label everything. Okay, let's continue. So to get these out, pretty straightforward. You gotta loosen these cables first because they're in the way. And then there's just bolts, you know, to get these out. Not these ones here, but like there. Yeah, so I'll do that. I'll get this out. There's one back there. You might have to spray them with WD-40. Okay, so I'll pull that out right now. Okay, just pulling this part out. So there's a hose there that needs to be disconnected. And there's a clamp down here that clamps this down. So we loosen that. And then there's this plug. So what you do is with any plug that you disconnect, you grab some masking tape and you write on it, plug 1 twice. And you label every single thing you disconnect. Trust me, you won't remember. It'll make things so much easier. Okay, so we got everything out. See what I mean? We just labeled this plug 1. And also, here's all the bolts, and we labeled those air intake, and we're gonna put them with the air intake. And that's what you do, guys. Every single thing's gotta be labeled, everything. Otherwise, you will forget. Okay, see, and in here, we got everything laid out just the way we took it out. Got our bolts, and see, we labeled that plug 1. So that's what you do. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so the next thing we need to do, guys, is remove these belts, which involves removing the power steering pump and the alternator. We're gonna remove the power steering pump in a way so we don't disconnect it. We're just gonna pick it up, move it out of the way. There is, you know, a couple bolts holding it. You're gonna have to look in here, right? There's one here. You might have to spray some of these, and this thing comes out too. Okay, let's do that right now, guys. We'll start with this pump. Okay, so we removed this reservoir, just lift it up. There was a nut in here for the tensioner, or a bolt, and then there was a nut there, so we took that off. And then right there, see it? That's a 13 mil, so we got to screw that out. It's a little tight, but you can get it. And then this whole reservoir and pump will come out, and we'll put it off to the side. So let me do that. Okay, so there it is. See, we got it moved off to the side, so that can just stay there. So what we're gonna do now, and what we did with the nuts and bolts, we just put everything back the way it was, right? So then it's not confusing later. Okay, now we're gonna remove the alternator. So you got, you know, a bolt there you gotta unscrew. There is like a tensioning bolt that's hard to get to. If it's stuck, you can actually remove this whole thing. If yours is stuck, it's hard to see, but there is another one there. So I'll show you once I get it out so you can see where it is. And then you gotta, you know, unplug this plug and disconnect the positive. So we'll do that, and I'll show you guys where that bottom bolt is once I get it out. Okay, figured I would just point this out. So yeah, I got everything off the way I said I would. I got that bolt out. And then for the bottom, if your tensioner's stuck, see, I got a 14 millimeter deep socket, and I was able to reach it. And there is a bolt that holds the whole tensioner down there. I'll show you on the new motor really quick. This is where your water pump was, your alternator. See, it's just right there on the side, kind of just over top the AC unit. So that's what we're unscrewing, and that'll take that alternator right off. Okay, so you can really see it there. That's where it was. And just like that, the alternator is out, guys. Let's move on. Okay, guys, and just like that, the alternator is out. So see, that's the bolt we took out. Also, you could have taken out this one. I believe it's a 12 millimeter. See, you just unbolt that. It's bolted right into the alternator, and that holds the tensioner in place. So that one or that one worked either way, but this way we can grease all this up before we put it back on so it all works. Okay, let's move on. Okay, now that and the belts are gone, we're moving on to the throttle cable and the cruise control cable. Pretty straightforward, right? So we already unscrewed these two. We just put the bolts back. 2 bolts there, so you disconnect those, and then, you know, these just come out, they just wrap around. So you unwrap them, lift them up, and then that pulls out. So pretty straightforward. I'll do that right now. Okay, so we got those unscrewed. See, the wire just goes up like this, or the cable, and it just comes out. See, like that. Okay, pretty straightforward. Okay, guys, those are moved aside. So what we're doing next is every single plug, every single wire, like underneath here, see? All this, we got to unplug every single connector, and we're going to try to move this wiring harness off to the side. There is an option of removing this motor with the harness or without. We're going to leave the harness in the car because the motor that we're putting in was in an automatic, and this car is standard, so the harness has to be the same harness. We're not swapping the harness. We're leaving the harness that's in here. So I'm going to get started on that, and I'll show you what I mean about labeling it once I get a few of these off. We're going to disconnect. We're going to start to disconnect as much as we can. You know, there's going to be a few steps that we're going to have to do in between. I'll show you guys. Okay, so this just unclips. We unclipped it. We got 2 10 mil bolts, and we should be able to get this whole rail with the alternator cable out to the side. You know, a couple plugs here and here, so we're going to label everything. Let's do it. Okay, it's been about 10 minutes or something, see? So we're just slowly disconnecting things. Number 4, number 4, number 5, number 5. So we're labeling almost everything. I mean, like, these are pretty obvious where they go. So next is the starter. We're just removing the harness off the starter. So on an automatic, the starter's in that spot. Manual, it's in that spot. It's all very similar, standard and manual. You just go around and you just, you know, keep disconnecting. So we're just slowly doing that still. Just wanted to fill you guys in. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Okay, still at this. So I mean, I just want to show you guys like this, for example, right? So what you got to do is in there, you have to press these somewhere on the inside. So you press it like this, and then this just slides off. See, that's how these work. You know, same with this one. There was one here on the battery part. So you got to start sliding all those off. They do come off. There is like a thing, you got like a tag you got to open. Okay, so we basically got the whole harness disconnected except for in here. See, there's a few connectors there. So what I'm gonna do is I'll show you on my new motor. Okay, so this is the motor that's going in. So this will make things a lot easier, guys. That's what Canada looks like, by the way. Okay, so you take this little cover off here, see? And you press this down, and that comes out, right? This on the back here, so you got the same kind of thing, right? You gotta get a screwdriver, push that open, and this will come off. See? There's a plug back here, which we unplug, right? And then this wire here, that comes out like that, and then you have your sensor down here, which also unplugs. Okay, so that's how you remove that on the car. It's obviously going to be a lot harder with not much space there, but don't worry, because either way the wheels got to come off, the drive axle's got to come out, all the little plastic covering under the wheels got to come out. So if you can't get to it now, you can get to it once you got the wheel off and the car jacked up. So there's no full pressure of getting this out right away. I think I can get it, but in your case, you might as well wait till we move forward. Okay guys, so this is off the new motor. So I'm just showing you guys because this is hard to get off. So I got the one plug out. See, in this, if you look back here, it's got two of these tabs. So you have to move this tab. You have to like pull it open, see, like that. And you have to pull this one open as well. I apologize if it's not focusing. And then that will slide off. So hopefully I'm helping you guys out, because that's what this video is all about. Make sure you subscribe, by the way. I need subscribers. Also, I got episodes on restoring 69 Corvette Stingray step by step. I got about 25 episodes now or something, and there's more coming. The whole entire series like a real show. Okay, let's continue. Okay, for some reason I can't get that bottom plug out, so the whole harness is out as far as I can tell, except for the bottom plug. So I'll do that later. I'll show it to you guys when the wheel's off and that. Okay, next we're gonna disconnect the fuel line. So there's them right here. The only problem with ours is there is gonna be pressure in it because we pull this off because our motor doesn't run, right? So you take this thing off, and then you just press these two and you pull it out. I'm gonna get a hose ready just in case, and like I said, you press these two green things in, you pull it out. Here you just got a little clamp thing and you pull that off. So I'll get these off right now. All right, so our next move is to jack up the front end and have both wheels off the ground. And yes, guys, this is an Acura EL. It's a Canadian car, but it is a Honda Civic. It's got the same motor, same tranny, all the parts are the same. The only thing that's different on it is the front bumper and the lights, the back bumper. See what I mean? It's actually a super cool looking Honda Civic. Way cooler in my opinion. Canada got lucky and we got these here. Apparently they're the only place they sold. I could be wrong, but that's what I heard. Anyways, so I'm jacking it up now. So you will need two jacks. I mean, any variety of jacks will do. I got a really good one and I got an okay one. Also, we're gonna need a few random boards. Okay, so that's the front of the car. So when jacking these cars, I mean, right here is the jacking point, see? If your car is solid like this one with no rust, then you can jack it here. If it's rusty and the rockers are soft, then you just put it right there on the subframe. See, right up there. It's close to the front as it'll go to jack it up. So we're gonna jack it on these on both sides for now, and then I'll show you how to set it up. Okay guys, so this is how we got it set up. We got the two tires in the front with some boards, see? And we got enough room here where we can still slide in this jack. We can put a couple boards here if we need to, and we can lift the car. Like if we put a, like 3 or 4 boards in between here, we'll be able to lift the car even higher, because remember, the motor comes out from underneath, so we have to get it pretty high. So we got 2 tires like that. Like here's the car, right? And then just in the front, in the middle here, just because of the all weight, right? Like we got those pretty far back, so we just have one jack right here, and just right on the the subframe. but we got it in the spot so we can still remove all the plastics and nothing's in the way. This doesn't really hold anything. This is more just to kind of balance the car so it doesn't like, you know, like tip over forwards, or, you know, just get like a strain and the front's being pulled with the weight of the engine. Once the engine's out of it, that'll be fine like that. Those, like, you know, those should be more forwards, but then we won't have room for the jack. So that's the trick here. And obviously, guys, everything that you're doing here is at your own risk. You know, take every safety precaution, use jack stands, whatever you got, so the car doesn't fall on you, obviously. Like, I like using tires and boards because it's, you know, it's not very tipsy that way. You could use jack stands and stuff. You know, the more you have under it, the safer it will be. Okay, so that's the setup we got. Okay, so what we're doing next, guys, is we're gonna remove this plastic front piece. That's our next move. You know, there's just like clips you gotta unclip. Pretty much that's all that's holding it. So I'll start on that right now. Okay, we got the plastic off. It was absolutely no problem. So now over here by the wheel, see, we can easily get to that plug. So I'll unplug that. And the next thing we're gonna do, guys, is drain the coolant, the motor oil, and we're gonna drain the transmission. So I'll take you through that. All right, so now that we got that bottom plug out, came out no problem once I had some good access. See, this is all ready to go off to the side now. The only problem is, see, there's like this in the way. And I guess this one too, kind of. So that's why next we gotta drain the fluid so we can disconnect these, right? And then this can go off to the side. So I'll show you how to drain the fluid right now, and yeah, dispose of it properly, all that wonderful stuff. Okay, so at the front of the car, this is pretty obvious, but see on the rad here, there is a little valve. And you just turn that. You can use pliers if you have to. You turn that and the liquid will start coming out into a jug. Okay, there it goes. Once you open the rad cap, it will speed up. So I'll do that. Okay, now while that's draining, we're going to remove the AC compressor. It's got 12 millimeter bolts going through it. There's 4 of them, 1, 2, and then there's 2 at the bottom, just going straight in. Pretty straightforward. So we'll take that off right now. Okay, guys, so I got one stubborn bolt at the bottom there. See, I got the wrench on it, the ratchet. So what you do is you take just a tube like this, right? I mean, I'm sure you guys know this, but whatever. For those of you that don't know, you put that on and that gives you leverage, right? There it goes. Okay, I'm going to continue with that. Okay, guys, so that honestly ended up taking forever. It took me about 20 minutes just to get this thing off. I ended up spraying WD-40 on the bolts and everything. That helped a lot. So once you got all 4 of them out, see, that's when you can actually like move this off to the side and actually get them all the way out. I apologize for the focus. There's lots going on here. Okay, I got all 4 of these out, guys. I'm very happy with that. Okay, so now that we got that air conditioning compressor off, see, we're leaving the hoses connected, staying in the car so we don't lose our charge, so the AC still works. So now what we got to do is we got to remove this fan, just the one, and that'll give us enough room for that compressor to sit in there while we drop the motor and put the new one in. So that's the plan there. So now we have to disconnect this hose here, and with that AC compressor moving around, there should be enough room to slide it out this way. Yeah, that will work. And this hose will be out as well. And then, you know, with it not being tied up, we will be able to kind of move it out of the way. So up top here on this fan, there's just 2 screws. See, one there and one there. We gotta remove those, and then the fan kind of just lifts up like this and comes out. So we're gonna do that right now, guys. Okay, so the fan is loose. Everything's almost ready to come out. Just see right here, we need to disconnect this plug. So press the button and that'll slide out. And then it's just attached to the bottom of the fan. So it is a little tough to get, but you got to disconnect that. And then once that's disconnected, you can literally move this whole entire compressor right into that hole there, and that will have enough room to get the fan out. Okay, so for the life of me, I could not unplug this or get it off this stupid thing. Like it's just corroded on there or something. So what I ended up doing is, see there's like a hole there. So this was just attached with a Phillips head screw. So I was able to actually just unscrew it. So now I can go like this and unplug it. That's what it looks like, in case you're having a hard time with it, guys. Okay, now that I got it at this point, I'll be able to disconnect that. Okay, we unplugged it. It wasn't easy. Even had to kind of break this open to get it out of the metal clip. Okay, so now what I did is, see, I moved the whole air conditioning compressor in there. So now that allows this fan, see, she'll just come right out. Anyways, I don't want to do it with one hand, but yeah, there's tons of room now. So I'll get that out. Okay, and there it is. So that's what that looks like, guys. Okay, let's move on. All right, so now with that fan out, see, this should be able to sit kind of here right up against the rad, and we should be able to maneuver it through as the engine is lowering down. So I'm gonna throw that back in this spot. Okay guys, so we took our bolts from the fan, labeled them fan. We took our bolts from the compressor, labeled them compressor. That's what you do with all your bolts later. It will be easy. Okay, next we're gonna drain the motor oil and the transmission oil. Bolt for the motor oil at the back of the motor, and motor oil.
Wave to me or something if you're doing a video, eh?
Okay guys, there's the front of the car. So right there on manual and automatic transmission, pretty much in the same spot. Right there, you just unscrew this and the oil comes right out. And that just has like a ratchet, just goes right in there, and you just open it with a ratchet. So once that oil drains out, we're gonna put this back in, because this is a good tranny that we're reusing. All right, so now that all the fluid's out of this thing, we're gonna disconnect all the hoses. Like, we can leave it on the rad, but we're gonna disconnect this one, you know, the lower one up here, these ones that go to the heater core just right at the motor. You know, there's one back there. Anything that needs to come off, we're gonna disconnect this one so we can get the harness through. Yeah, and then right here at the back, there's one that goes in the back of the motor back there. That one is for your brake booster, I believe, so that's got to come out. And then we're going to take this harness, move it to the side, take all these hoses, move them to the side, and I'll show you what that looks like when it's done. Okay, see, so we got all the wires, everything moved off to the side, got all the hoses disconnected. So next we're going to remove the starter, which is right here. It's just two 14mm bolts, one there, and I already got a socket on that one. On the automatic, it's just on this side. It's very similar, so I'll pull that off next. Super easy. And guys, it's raining again, but there's nothing stopping us. We are working in the rain, getting this done. We got an umbrella. Okay guys, the starter is out. As you can see, that was super easy. So next, we gotta remove the clutch parts. So if you got standard, if you got automatic, you don't have this stuff. So there's just a 10 mil right here, and this little bracket will come off and it'll just hover there. And over here you follow this, and we're gonna remove these two bolts as well. This part is what presses the clutch when you press your pedal. So you just unbolt those, and that should come off, and this should come off, and that just kind of will hover there. Okay, so that basically just came off like I said it would. See, that just kind of sat on there. This is like just a rubber cover, right? And then this whole thing, I just took the two bolts, unscrewed it. This kind of dangles in there. But once you put it all back on, everything will go back in place. We'll show that in episode 3 of this video, the reassembly, guys. Okay, so this can just sit there basically just like that. It's not really in the way. Okay, let's move on. Next, we're gonna remove the shifting cables. If you got a manual transmission, I'll show you how to do it. If you have an automatic, it's just underneath at the back. You just start unscrewing a couple 10mm. It's pretty simple. Like, you'll figure it out once you start unbolting it. But in our case, we're doing standard. I'll show you right now. Okay, so here it is right here. All you gotta really do is, so you gotta take these like cotter pins out, and then this will just lift off, and then this whole thing will just come right off. And same with the other one. There's two of them, see? Take the cotter pin out and that'll just slide off sideways. And then once you got those off, back here, there's just, I believe there's 2 bolts. I'll take those off. If there's, I think there's a third one there. So there's 1, 2, 3. If there's a fourth one, I'll let you know. If not, I'll show it off. And then, so that should just come off and dangle off to the side there. So I'll do that right now. Okay guys, everything is removed up here. This motor is ready to be dropped. I had a hard time unhooking this thing for the booster, brake booster. I couldn't do it at the back of the motor, so I disconnected it there, which is the same thing I did on the motor that's going in here, so that's fine. Okay, what we're doing next, guys, is on the front wheels here. So you take, this is a good screwdriver, like a pointy one. So we gotta hammer it in here to like unbend this. So we gotta unbend that, and it's a 32 millimeter. So you put it on. There's 2 ways of doing it. One way, you get a buddy to press the brakes really hard, and you know, you use a bar and an extension and you just loosen it. And the other way is with an impact wrench. So we're gonna loosen both sides right now. Okay, see, we got that bent open. We ended up at the end using a little screwdriver just to get it right. Okay, so now we get our impact wrench. Okay guys, so in some cases, just gotta get a hammer. Okay, that's it. So that's good. We gotta do that on both sides. Okay guys, it's the next day. We got that all done just the way I said I would. So now you turn your wheels all the way to the left. We need to separate the ball joints and pull out the drive axles. So in order to get these ball joints apart, there's a cotter pin there, see? So let's pull that out. It's like a funny one that kind of goes off to the side. See what I mean? And it just comes out. See, it looks like that. So you twist it, boom. Okay, let's unscrew that. Okay, first we're gonna clean it with the wire brush, just so we can see what's going on here. Some WD-40, great stuff. $17mm ratchet. Put a bar on the end of the ratchet and you pull. Okay, now we grab a pretty big hammer like this, and right here with the wheels turned the way we had them, we're gonna hit it right there. Big crowbar, put it in something like this to get some leverage, right? And that's that, guys. She's out. Okay, I'm gonna go do the other side and then I'll show you how to pull the drive axles out. Okay, the other side's all split apart as well. Okay, so now the drive axle, so we pull it out of there and see back there right on the transmission, what we have to do is, and yeah, I did change my shirt. You need a flat crowbar like this. So you're gonna put it in behind and pull it out. I'm gonna show you. Okay guys, so see, this is the drive axle going into the transmission. So you basically slide this in, you know, and you push down. You should be wearing gloves. Okay, that didn't work, so we repositioned, got a hammer, kind of put it on the side. There we go. See, that popped right out, guys. So now you can just pull this drive axle right out. Nothing to it. And then you just carefully pull it out. Just like that, guys. So that's what that looks like. Easy as pie. Same thing on the other side, guys. Okay, guys, we got the other side done. Believe it or not, this motor is ready to come out. Okay, let's get started on taking it out. Okay, so the first thing you got to do is put this cherry picker underneath the car here. Get this right about in the center of the motor and the transmission. So right about here. We're gonna do that right now. Okay, that's what that should look like. Then we're gonna take a 8-foot chain. We got about a half a foot there. 8-foot chain, guys. I'll show you where to connect it. Okay, so one end of the chain is gonna get connected right to this bolt here. We're gonna unscrew it, put a link of the chain, and then put the bolt back in. So I'll do that right now. Okay, guys, just so you can familiarize yourself with everything. So we got this on the second setting, which is the 1.5 ton, right? So that's right over the motor. That gives us enough room here, right? Underneath the car, we still have the center balanced, like I said earlier. And then over here, see, we got the car up on the subframe, but we have enough room so we can put this, a jack on each side, and lift it right there on the subframe with a couple boards in between this and that. You get what I'm saying here? Because this whole car is gonna have to go up still. Also, I did forget to pull the exhaust out, which we're still gonna do next, but okay, I'll show you this chain here. Okay, so a manual transmission and automatic transmission, it's the same. So see, I got it hooked up underneath that bolt. Got it going up over this. We got this pretty much as high as the hood will go. Everything works there. And then on this side, manual and automatic is the same as well. So on this motor mount, see there's a bolt right there that screws in. So you wouldn't take the chain and attach it like to that, because then it's gonna push up against these plastic air intake stuff. So what you have to do is you have to run it underneath this motor mount, and you're gonna loop it around, and then you're gonna attach it to that bolt. Get it? So it's gonna go through the bolt, you're gonna put the bolt back in, and the chain's gonna go underneath through that hole and then out. We're just gonna get it so it's tight, basically. Something like that. Okay, I'm gonna set all that up and show you guys, and then we're still going to have to take out just that part of the exhaust. It's not that hard unless yours is rusted, but I mean, if you break something, whatever, you can repair it with a little piece or whatever, no big deal. Okay, I'll take you through that. Okay guys, so you know what, I was looking at that exhaust situation underneath, and I can admit when I made a mistake. So the mistake is that exhaust does have to come off first. So I didn't attach the other chain yet. So I need to back this thing out, because it's hard to lay down under here with these two big giant arms in the way. So I'm gonna back it out, and we're gonna work on the exhaust really quick first, and then we'll get back to the chain stuff. And yes, like, see, I'm sweaty, I'm dirty. This is real mechanics, guys. I watch these like mechanics shows all the time, and I mean, these guys don't even get dirty doing stuff half the time. I'm sure once the camera's turned off, the actual mechanics are doing it. So I just want to give a shout out to those guys. Respect to you all, and keep up the good work. Okay, so I moved that back, literally took 1 minute. So now you just want to spray everything with WD-40. I already sprayed it this morning, you know, all the bolts. Okay, so from underneath, see right there, you just have a bolt on each side, no big deal. You know, you might have to use an extender, whatever. So you're gonna completely remove those two bolts to get the front of it out, and then you're just gonna spray WD-40 on that so it can slide out easy. And back here you got nuts and bolts. We're gonna spray those up with WD-40, and we're gonna get those out. And then that section of the exhaust will come right out. It's not too bad, guys. Just gotta oil everything up with WD-40. Okay guys, I got it out. The front bolts came out no problem. Also, there was an O2 sensor I had to unplug underneath the car. And these back bolts, I mean, I had to heat these up with a blowtorch to get them off. They did not want to come off, but they did come off in the end. So everything's reusable. Even the gasket can be reused. So it's my lucky day. And the blowtorch, just a regular propane blowtorch. No big deal. It did make enough heat. Okay, let's get back to setting all this up. Okay, guys, so this thing is basically set up. I just did change one plan because I see that bolt I was telling you guys about down there. I couldn't get good access to it. So anyway, so I ran that underneath. I'll show you underneath from the other side. There's the front of the car. So right underneath here, right? This motor mount. So basically, I mean, you could attach it to that bolt, the one over top of it, even that one. And that's the one right there that we couldn't really, I just couldn't get to it. So I ended up just hooking it up like that. No problems with that, guys. Okay, we're basically ready to drop this motor. Okay, so what we gotta do now, guys, is, see, our goal is to remove this jack now. We gotta get rid of it. So what we need to do is just take some of the weight off of the front by pumping this up right here. Just like that. And we're gonna pump it just so the motor starts to lift. See how it's starting to lift? Watch. If you can even see that on camera. Okay, so now all the weight of the motor and the transmission is on this. So now we can remove this jack. So that's our next move. Okay, we're basically 4 or 6 bolts away from pulling this out. So this is what we did. We took the middle jack out and we put it over here with a couple blocks so we can go high enough on the other side of the vehicle. See, we did the exact same thing. We got a couple blocks and this way we'll be able to lift it higher than what it is, right? Okay, so what we got to do now is there's right there, there's a bolt on each side there, and right there there's a bolt on the frame, and right there there's a bolt on the frame. So 3 on each side. 1, 2, 3. We're gonna grab an impact wrench and remove all 6 of these bolts right now, guys. So I'll do that right now, and then we're ready to drop this motor, guys. Let's do it. Okay, so all those bolts are out. We're basically down to this motor mount here. So there's 1, 2, these 3 bolts gotta come out. We should be okay with that. If you really wanted to, you could pull this one out too and like take this whole thing out, but we're just gonna do these 3. And then on the other side of the motor, right over here, we gotta do this motor mount. So you got 1, let me just go to the other side, 2 and 3, and then this motor mount will come right out, and then she's ready to be dropped, guys. Okay, guys, everything is unbolted. So what we gotta do now is we're gonna take this motor, and with the subframe, we're gonna lower the whole thing, guys. All right, I'm gonna start lowering right now. So you're gonna do basically a couple inches at a time, like this. And then you're gonna stop it. And you're gonna check everything, make sure no hoses are caught, things like that. Make sure the air AC compressor, everything's doing its thing, right? Really, really want to take your time here. You don't want to bend something. Everything's got it clear. Okay, now we're gonna lower it a little bit more, just like before. Okay, now same thing. We're gonna check it again. You get the idea, guys. Okay. Okay, guys, so as you can see, things are going super good here. Everything is lowering. So what we're gonna do now is like basically this whole subframe is gonna sit on these red arms. That's what's gonna happen here. So we're gonna lower it to the point where it's gonna sit right on these arms, guys. So I'm gonna do that right now. Okay, lowering it some more. Okay, let's lower it some more. Okay guys, so the motor is out. It's only sitting on these red things with the subframe. So what we gotta do now is we gotta jack up the car high enough so we can slide this motor out kind of forwards under this wheel kind of thing. Okay, let's get started. I'm gonna jack it up as high as she'll go. Okay, so we got the car up. We're gonna have to lift this up now. See, we're almost running out of space here, but this is disconnected now. We don't need it connected anymore. The motor is literally sitting on these red arms, right? The only problem I'm having is my jack. I ran out of jack, as you can see. So what we're gonna do for safety purposes is we're gonna double up the tires now on both sides, and we're gonna lower it a little bit so it's sitting on the tires again, and then that way we can remove the jacks and we can put more wood. Like, we could double up the wood and then we'll be able to lift it even higher on both sides. And like I said, guys, do this at your own risk. I mean, if the car falls on you, it's not my fault. I'm showing you how I'm doing it for entertainment purposes. It could help you out.
Safety first, always.
Okay, so we got that lifted up, and see what we did here, guys. And see, now that there's no motor in the car, it's not too heavy to have it jacked, you know, in that spot. So now what we can do, we're actually just gonna move this in a little bit. Whatever, good enough. So we're gonna lower the car right now on both sides, and then we'll be able to reset these jacks up so it can go higher. Like, look, we're almost there. It needs to go about that much higher, and then we'll be able to get this out. Okay, I'm gonna do that right now. Okay, so see what we did here? So now we can totally lift this car high enough. So make sure your emergency brake's on and you got blocks under the back wheels. Otherwise, if you lift this, the car's gonna roll back and everything's gonna fall. So make sure you keep this thing safe, guys. Okay, I'm gonna lift it up right now. Okay guys, so we got it high enough, and I mean, with each couple pumps of the jack, we kept adding boards here for safety, just so nothing would tip. See, we did that on both sides. Everything looks pretty good. So I mean, as you can see, this motor is ready to drive right out of here. So we're gonna drive it out right through this part, just sideways. I'll do a quick little video of that, and then it will be a success. Okay guys, so there it is. We got it out, no problems, without any kind of special tools, as you can see. So guys, part 2 will be separating the transmission from the motor, which will be a short, quick little video. And part 3 will be reinstallation, this Honda Civic VTEC engine back into this car. We're gonna be doing that one there, putting it in. So make sure you guys subscribe and like. I will really appreciate it if this video has helped you out. Thanks, good night, sleep well, enjoy guys.
I love Problem Solver Garage.